Hi everyone, this is Taylor with the Daily Geddon, and we're here with a new episode and also a brand new t-shirt, so there's that. And this week we're going to talk about what happened in Congress last week. That's what happened in the House and the Senate from the dates of June 1st to June 4th. Those are the dates where they were in session, and I've broken this video apart into 3 different sections. It is the good, the bad, and the wait, what? And I know it's an extremely original concept, no one's ever used it before, so don't ever look it up. I promise you, it's a completely original thing. And with that, we're going to get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is how I approach videos like this. When I'm going to do a recap video, there's generally not a lot of detail and there's not a lot of text to go off of, because when you look at bills that are only 7 days old, there's not going to be a lot of detail and they're generally only going to be titles. In fact, every bill in this video that I'm going to talk about is only a title, and we can take it at its face value, maybe make some assumptions and come up with some kind of opinion about what could be in the bill in the future, or even if it's going to gain steam at all, if it's on par with what's happening in current events. And those are the types of things I want to think about when I'm looking at any type of legislation. Is the senator or representative just trying to get noticed by their constituency and trying to get votes in the future? Or does it mean nothing at all and this bill is absolutely superfluous? Or are they pocketed by some kind of special interest group because it's not tapped into current events? Are they setting the right priorities? Are they looking at what's happening around them and then representing us in the way that we are speaking to them through the actions that we have, through the letters that we write, through the tweets that we tweet at them? Are they acting through us as actual representatives? And that's kind of what you need to approach every bill, every piece of legislation as, and that's how I approach them. So when I start talking about these things, that is the viewpoint that I will take. The first few bills I'm going to talk about are the good bills, and the first of those is S-3853, and it was introduced by Senator Elizabeth Warren, and it's a bill to prevent price gouging during times of emergency, which, as we've seen with COVID-19, a completely unprecedented time of emergency, and everyone goes and buys all the toilet paper. Toilet paper can get astronomically expensive, and things like that need to be protected, and hopefully this bill would do something about it. Now, this bill might not go anywhere, but at least someone is talking about it. S-3855 and H.R. 7076 are the same bill. Now, they were introduced in both sides of Congress, both the Senate and the House, but they are the same exact bill, and they're for the accountable and ethical spending of COVID-19 relief funds. And they were introduced by Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative, Pramila Jayapal. This is extremely important legislation. Now, not only is it important to provide the relief, but also make sure that it's distributed accurately and make sure that it's strategically and well spent. People are greedy out there. And like we saw with the Paycheck Protection Program, things and people get through. There were companies that got millions and millions more dollars than they should have. Companies that were huge, that weren't small businesses. And as an entire soapbox for an entire another day, but my point is that this is extremely important legislation that needs to be passed. H.R. 7071 was introduced by Jeff Fortenberry of Nebraska, and it's to allow acceleration of access to clinical therapies for people who suffer from ALS. And if you're out there and you dumped a bucket of ice water on your head and you know who you are and you posted it to Instagram, you need to be tweeting this man and tweeting senators and telling them to push this through. H.R. 7074 was introduced by Jesus Garcia of Illinois, and it's to institute an office of equitable transit-oriented development and mobility. All of that's fancy words to say make public transit better. And you'd have to assume that it's across the entire United States, because this is at the federal level of government and it's not just one specific state. H.R. 7089 was introduced by Joaquin Castro of Texas, and it's very simply put to reform law enforcement practices. It also says for other purposes, but every bill in the entire world says that. But this is a very simple title, and I know it's a very, very tiny step, but it's at least putting it out there in front of the House of Representatives that something needs to be done. I know that there's a lot of this going on right now, and I'm not going to chime in because I'm not going to pretend to even understand where they come from, because I have never in my entire life encountered something like this. So at least something is being introduced and put into being put in front of the House of Representatives. The next bill I'm going to talk about, I am extremely passionate about because I feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction and there was extremely poor oversight, and we haven't done anything to go back and fix it. And that's HR 7093, which was introduced by Sharice Davids from Kansas, and it's to go back and look at the Paycheck Protection Program and hold the SBA accountable for looking at where each and every covered loan was made under the Paycheck Protection Program. And that way we can look at that information and see who actually got the money and who didn't, because there were so many businesses suffering for so very long, so many small businesses that were suffering because the money had already been soaked up by large corporations. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it, large corporations, because they had already admitted to doing it. There are countless articles out there. Go back and watch my other video on the Paycheck Protection Program. Do a little bit of research on your own and you'll see. But I think that this is something that needs to be pushed really, really hard, and thank you very much, Sharice. I really appreciate it. The last bill I'm going to talk about in this section is HR 7118, and it was introduced by, and I'm extremely sorry because I might butcher your name, but it was introduced by Representative Frederica Wilson of Florida. And this bill amends the Help America Vote Act of 2002 to require that the 2020 election be held completely by mail. And that's a little bit drastic and would take a ton of oversight and planning, and I'm not saying it couldn't be done, because if we invest enough time in it, it could be done, but this bill could serve as a huge springboard for pushing to requiring every state to have a mail-in vote option. We already saw in Milwaukee in Wisconsin, whenever they did their state and local elections, that there were huge lines because they closed down a bunch of polling places to try to reduce the amount of exposure and not hire as many poll workers. But when they reduced the amount of polling locations, lines got astronomically long, and it's basically voter suppression, honestly, and it's something that needs to be dealt with. So good on you, and I think this is a great bill to spring us forward to a mail-in vote option. The next bill I'm going to talk about, and there's really only one, is the bad. And it was really the only bill that I saw that was introduced that looked like a step backwards. And it's HR 7087, and it was introduced by Ted Budd of North Carolina. This bill would modify Title 8 of the United States Code to make the penalty for riots much higher. And the problem is not with making the penalty for riots much higher, because rarely are people that are rioting thinking, man, I'm breaking United States Code Title 8. But the problem is the timing. This is the time that you choose to bring this out. This is the time, Ted. Really. When there are multiple riots over the New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl, Philadelphia Eagles are tearing down lampposts and lighting stuff on fire, and this is the issue you choose to bring the rioting, making the penalty for rioting so much higher card. This is the time you play it. Ted, come on, man. Read the room. The next few bills I'm going to talk about are going to make you say, wait, what? And the first one I want to talk about is S3845, and it was introduced by Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, and it's to end the practice of having more than one subject in a piece of legislation. How, Rand? How is that possible? How are you going to implement this? Who are you targeting? What are you trying to accomplish? Please answer all of these questions and make sure that you only address one subject. The next bill I'm going to talk about is very, very real. And it was actually introduced into our actual House of Representatives. And I'm saying it that way for a very specific purpose, because I know you're thinking right now, Taylor, why do you sound like an idiot? Of course it was introduced in the actual House of Representatives. Where else would it be introduced? And the reason I say that is because it is so far out there that I cannot comprehend it. And it was introduced by Sylvia Garcia of Texas, and it is HR 7075. And this bill, the title of this bill, I'm going to read it out so that we have the exact same things in our head at the exact same time, and we hear and see the exact same words. And the title of this bill is to prohibit the president from deploying any strategic weapon, such as a nuclear bomb, for purposes of altering weather patterns or addressing climate change. So if you take this thought, and you separate it into two individual thoughts because of the conjunction or, and also because that's the only way that my brain could even begin to comprehend what is happening. And you say that this bill is to prohibit the president from discharging a nuclear weapon to alter weather patterns, as if that is the calculated result from discharging a nuclear weapon, and also what we're intending to do. As if Oh, it's gonna be rainy on Saturday at Augusta. Let's bomb it first, so that way the Masters can happen. You know, to alter the weather. And if you take the second thought, which is to prohibit the president from discharging a nuclear weapon to address climate change, as if the only way we're gonna get out of this burning Earth to the ground is to blow the entire thing up, I can't even imagine what was going through someone's head when they wrote this down. Sylvia, I'm not blaming you, but why would you put your name on this? Why? And that's what I had to say. Wait, what? That's all I have for the video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Once again, I appreciate all the support. I got over 100 views on a video, which was a huge milestone for me. So thank you to everybody who shared it. Thank you to everybody who watched it. And I really appreciate it once again. Remember to follow, subscribe, and like the video. Leave me something in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you want to bomb climate change back into the next existence. With that, I have to say thanks and have a good one.